So, you've just gotten the email that you're invited to take the FSP and you're freaking out because you have no idea what exactly this is, how you can prepare for it, and so on and so forth. I'm making this video for you in order to actually calm you down a bit and to guide you through what exactly I did and countless other colleagues of mine who ended up passing the FSP successfully, and what I'd recommend you doing in order for you to actually pass this exam without struggling too much and spending unnecessary money on private language schools and courses online. I recently made a video on how you can get your approbation in Germany, and as I was explaining this, I mentioned that one of the steps is to actually take the FSP. I didn't go into very much detail on my previous video, but I'm gonna go into greater detail now. The FSP is basically an oral exam that every foreign doctor that wants to work in Germany needs to take. And it's basically an exam where you utilize your oral skills in order for you to get the anamnesis of a patient, write down this anamnesis to a piece of paper, and to present this theoretically to your senior physician. Now, the FSP is something very hard for many people because it's the first time that they have to take an exam in another language other than their mother tongue, and it's quite hard, and that freaks everyone out. Because most of us, once we're learning German, it's actually like all fun and games, we're learning the grammatic, the basics, and so on and so forth. But when it comes to actually be examined on it, it's something very scary for a lot of people. So for this reason, I decided to make this video to guide you through on how exactly I ended up passing this exam after failing the first time, what were my mistakes, and what I would have done differently in order for me to pass this exam quicker and without all of this stress. So my name is Thanos. I have gotten my approbation a few months ago. I decided to make these two videos to help people get their approbation and actually pass the FSP without wasting so much time, money, and energy on pointless things. Because I feel like there are not many good enough videos online that can really guide you through the whole process and be quite honest with what you will be faced with. So after I came to Germany and I sent all of my documents to the Bezirksregierung Münster and I got an appointment for the FSP. It was actually while I was doing a 2-month hospitation in a hospital, and I freaked out. I actually thought in the beginning that it was a very simple exam and that I had to just be good from a medical knowledge perspective, but I ended up realizing that this exam is not actually a medical exam, it's actually an oral exam. It's two different things, and I feel like once you start realizing this, you will prepare for this exam in a different way. So the first time I went there, I ended up failing because quite honestly, I wasn't that stable with my German. I didn't speak quite well. I could understand things, but I couldn't initiate an interactive conversation with the doctors and the patient. And this really affected my score, and this is why I ended up failing. But the second time I went there, it was a very similar process. I wasn't this stressed. I went there and I passed the exam much easier without any struggle. Now, if you look online and you look at different videos and blog posts and so on and so forth, you're gonna come across specific numbers, let's say, that you need to study for at least a year, that you need to read these books or sign up to these lessons in order for you to pass. I feel like all of these numbers are quite idiotic, to be honest, because learning and speaking the language, it's not a matter of months, it's a personal matter. I have a few friends that have learned German much quicker, much better than me. I have other friends that are struggling for more months than me. It really depends. The one thing that's certain though is that you need time. But I won't give you this generic advice that other people give you, that you need time to actually learn. I'm gonna give you a much more realistic advice, and that's that you need to practice speaking the language. Like I said before, this is an oral exam, so when you go to this exam, you need to showcase to everyone that you can master the language, you can actually talk the language without it being interrupted by and thinking 2 or 3 times on what you have to say. And you need to actually have a conversation with both the patient and the Oberärzte at the final part. That's all it matters. You just need to be able to talk. So as far as I understand, depending on the state you're registered in to take the FSP, there are a lot of differences in how this exam is being carried out. I've heard stories that they focus more, let's say, on the medical aspect of things, others that focus more on the language part of skills. I've heard stories where people go and actually discuss about their personal lives at the final part and they don't actually do this medical explanation thing during their exam. There are many different stories, many different people are experiencing this exam differently. differently. But one thing is certain is that if you don't have the medical knowledge on some topics, it's not actually a big issue. What is being asked for you during this exam is to be able to think on your feet, reply good enough German without making mistakes in the grammatic and so on and so forth, and actually carrying out the conversation. At the end of the day, if you're gonna be a resident soon in Germany, you're not expected to know a lot of things. You're just expected to be there, put in the work, discuss with parts of your team flawlessly, and actually communicate with everyone without causing an issue on the day-to-day tasks. And that's what's being asked for you during this examination, is for you to talk properly, nothing else. Now that we've talked on my experience, I just want to go and give you some tips on how to prepare for this exam. I've done everything, to be honest. I got into different Telegram and WhatsApp groups. I did a lot of simulations. I bought a few courses. I went to a private language school to learn the German necessary for this exam. I feel like out of all of these things, nothing actually helped besides the simulations with other colleagues. And one more thing that no one is talking about on YouTube right now, and is that I did a Hospitation in the Innere Medizin. In my opinion, if you want to actually pass this exam without having too many issues, start sending emails to different hospitals and go do a Hospitation in the Innere Medizin for maybe 1 to 2 months. Go there every day, stay there until like the end of the shift, talk with all the other doctors, go and take the anamnese of different patients, and you will see that the more you practice, within a couple of weeks to 3 weeks, you're gonna be able to not only understand a lot of the things being said inside the hospital, is that you can start explaining things as well, and you're gonna feel more comfortable with your language skills. Personally, I did this. I went for a Hospitation for 2 weeks. It really helped me, and after this, when I went to the exam, it really felt like I was just taking an anamnese on a regular patient, and I was just explaining these things to my colleagues. It didn't feel any much different, and it really calmed me down and gave me all the necessary skills in order for me to go ask structured questions, get the information I want, and go and pass the exam. However, if you actually want to prepare for this exam in a different way, there are quite a few resources that I would highly recommend to you. One of them is this book here. I read this from A to Z. It's very interesting. It goes straight to the point and it gives you a lot of valuable skills. I'm gonna put the link in the description if you want to buy it. And moving on, I actually used a couple of websites and resources in order for me to properly prepare for this exam. One of them was this, fspmastery.com. Here you're gonna see a lot of important information regarding the exam. This is more targeted for the FSP in Düsseldorf, but I think that you can find here a lot of very valuable information that you can actually use if you're taking the exam in, for example, Bayern, Munich, or Münster, or wherever else. For example, if we go through here, you're gonna see that there are a lot of Abkürzungen. This is something very important because Germans in the hospital really love using these things. You can find here different types of cases that are also examined in Düsseldorf. For example, this was my case here. You're gonna see here that you have the Anamnese, wichtige Fragen and Informationen. For example, these are a few questions that you need to ask during the exam, which are going to give you a lot of valuable information for you to write in the anamnese. And here you have different information that you might be asked during the last part, for example. Moving on, I would highly recommend you actually using Ambos as well. If you don't have any premium account, you can make one for free here. I say just go on the German version of Ambos, click here to get a free, let's say, trial for 30 days. This is more than enough. And once you've made an account here, you can actually go through a lot of the information from the cases in your region and actually learn the basics, the pathophysiology. You can practice the terminology, you can see the treatment options, and this can really help you when you're writing down the anamnese in order for you to actually write a very targeted and correct, for example, diagnostic tools, differential diagnosis, treatment options, and so on and so forth. Last but not least, the one person who I've actually seen that is doing a pretty good job preparing people for the FSP. I haven't actually gotten the chance to work with him because once I sent him an email about my situation, it was a bit too late. He didn't have any free openings to help me out with the FSP. But I've heard from different colleagues that he's actually pretty good in what he's doing. It's the FSP mit Peter. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Here you have a lot of, let's say, different PDF files that you are going to be able to download to help you prepare for this exam. And you can also have simulations. Like I said before, these are very very, very important thing, simulations. Doing simulations is very important and very helpful. And simulations are very important. You need to have good simulation partners, in my opinion, in order for you to actually benefit from them. Because if your partner doesn't speak any German or is all over the place, your partner will be actually damaging your progress instead of helping you out. So what I've heard from this course here, which is very helpful, I reckon, is that once you do these simulations with Peter here, he's gonna basically record them and give you an analysis of every mistake you've made, every grammatical error, every question you missed, and so on and so forth. And you can actually have a very targeted approach on how to prepare for the FSP. Like I've said before, I haven't done this, but I've heard very good words, and I would highly recommend you doing it, if you have the money and the resources for it, of course. Before I actually forget about this, you can go on and Google, for example, Telegram, FSP Düsseldorf, or whichever region you're actually being tested in, and you're gonna see that there are a lot of Telegram groups and also WhatsApp groups, if I remember correctly, where you can actually have, for example, different material to prepare for the exam. You can actually talk with people who have actually taken the exam and see their experience and so on and so forth. Or for example, if you write Telegram Vorbereitung FSP, you're gonna have here, for example, Peter's Telegram. You can see here he actually does a few tests every day to help you with the grammatic. It's very, very helpful. So yeah, that's it. So for a quick recap, the FSP exam is usually an hour long. It consists of 3 parts. One part where you talk with the patient, one part where you write down the anamnese, and one part where you talk with the Oberärzte or the other, let's say, doctors. Each part lasts around 20 minutes. Depending on the region you are registered to get your Approbation, there are a few time differences on when you're gonna get the FSP appointment, and knock on wood, if you fail, how long you need to wait for the next appointment. For example, in the NRV, I think it's about 3 months. In Bayern, it's 6 months, so keep that in mind. Secondly, there are a lot of resources online. Be very cautious what you use and how you prepare for this exam, because some things might actually make you lose time, because you might be panicking that you need to learn everything, whereas in reality you don't need to learn everything. Like I said before, this is an oral exam, not a medical exam. And last but not least, you can use all of the resources I mentioned in this video to prepare for this exam, but what I really recommend doing is actually a Hospitation in the Innere Medizin in any hospital, where you can actually learn how to take a proper anamnese, talk with other doctors, and explain things in a very simple manner to the patients. Now, if you have any questions regarding this topic, or if you want me to make another video on how exactly you can do a Hospitation in a hospital, feel free to comment. And of course, if you have any questions, you can comment them. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching once again, and see you on the next video.